star that lights the road. I take this ride. Just drive. I wanna be the only one to make it to the light. I take it to the edge where I live 1,000 lives. But maybe I could be the one. I'm riding to the setting sun tonight. Just drive.
Hello, welcome to southern Spain and to Jerez, and for the first of this week's testing notebooks. Now it's pretty early. It's I've got my watch on. Do you know what time it is, Pete? Ah, right, sorry, 18 minutes past 8 in the morning. And we're going to do the notebook in a few parts today because there are so many interesting key things really happening throughout the day. We're just expecting in the next couple of minutes the Mercedes launch. Now look at this. You're not going to get a car past there. It feels like a race. I've got to tell you, coming in at about 7:30 this morning, they wanted me in earlier, but I flat refused. Only joking. There's so much traffic coming in. It really felt like it was actually a race weekend, and just amazing how Formula One reinvents itself. You know, everyone's seemingly jaws on the floor after Vettel winning a 4th World Championship in a row by Brazil, and everyone tired after a long season. Bang! Winter happens, new regulations, and it feels like Formula One has completely reinvented itself. So this is the Mercedes launch. We've got this at 20 past 8. Then it's going to be the Red Bull launch. You've got old Keke Rosberg on the wall. Careful, Keke, you might fall over on that one. Well, he's rock solid, he is. Low centre of gravity. And then we've got the Red Bull launch 20 minutes after that. Just look at these people, Pete. Everywhere, and this is all, you know, media and guests. There are some people from Red Bull who've snuck around to see what the car looks like. There they are, look, just up on the wall, just over to your left here, Pete. Not quite sure whether they're just guests or actually members of the Red Bull team. Oh, that's Dom. Oh, he's not exactly the most technical person, but yeah, here they are. They look like just members of the Red Bull team, to see what the Mercedes looks like. And I'm just wondering, is this going to be Mercedes Day? As we say, you know, they've already done a test day in Silverstone, so they've already done around 40 kilometres of running. That's more than Red Bull have done, certainly. And Red Bull seemingly don't expect to do much running this morning because they've already scheduled 4 press conferences for us between the hours of 10 and 12 and 1 o'clock. So we've got Adrian Newey talking, then we've got Sebastian Vettel, then we've got Daniel Ricciardo. So if the drivers are talking to us, they're certainly not driving the car. And then they've got Christian Horner, who's going to say a few words as well. So they're clearly not expecting, Red Bull are clearly not expecting to run very much. Mercedes tell me that it's news to them, it's a bit of a surprise to them, because they're expecting just to go round and round and round. And I'm just wondering whether this gives Mercedes a bit of a head start in the season. Of course, there's no point at this moment saying, yes, you know, they've got an advantage for the season, but as it is only testing, I should make a little sign saying it's only testing, shouldn't I? But, oh, there you go, Pete, you found me. It's Nico Rosberg, looking like he doesn't really do mornings, but I'm sure he does. Funky new boots on there. Number 6, of course, Nico Rosberg. Just like his dad, who we've already seen gracing the Jerez pit wall. And just look at the number of people. Really, I mean, I'm just wondering whether I would have seen this number of people. Of course, it's an official Formula One test, so they've all got to be fully accredited with the FIA and FOM. He's just sauntering towards us, going to give us a little show of the logos. We are waiting for Lewis Hamilton, so we might as well just hang on and wait to see if Lewis arrives. There's Lewis. Look, Pete on the left. There's a very moody shot as Lewis comes out with new longer hair and same sort of blinging earrings, but he looks very good on it. Trying to see if he's got his number 44 emblazoned on his helmet somewhere. There it is. It's on the top. Just over there. Now, from this excellent angle that we've got, we're not going to see the nose. So, well, we're not going to change it now, are we, Pete? But I'm sure we'll get a little, what they call a cutaway of the nose. And really, that's the other interesting thing, is to see what Mercedes have done with the nose. I think they're about to reveal it, Pete. So there we go. Yeah. Here we go, you can watch the launch as it happens. Now in a moment, we're actually going to, a bit later on, we're going to show you, or rather make you listen to the sound of these news cars. And just having a look at the nose from the back, it's more like the Ferrari, so that is interesting. It's the low sort of duckbill platypus nose, and I'm sure we're all going to come up with our own little ways of describing these noses, from the gentleman's appendage of the Toro Rosso and Williams and some of the other ones, to the platypus, or the sort of low flat nose. So Ferrari and Mercedes have gone with this low flat nose that really gives a little extra front downforce, perhaps at the expense of a little bit of airflow underneath that front portion of the car. But a lot of people have been looking at the interesting little camera mounts. I don't know if you can see that, Pete, just left of the front wheel. You can see a little camera mount sort of jutting out. Can you see that? If I just position you to here, as Nico Rosberg does a little thing with a sponsor's thing. Do you see the little camera mount, a little finger that's coming out? Now that is right on the edge of legality. It's slightly naughty by Mercedes, because you're meant to have a camera positioned at a very defined point, but it's the intention from the FIA was that camera is actually put on the side of the nose cone, and for Mercedes to put it out on a wing, obviously probably aerodynamically efficient, quite a good place aerodynamically to put that camera. It is a bit naughty, but we have seen that with quite a few things, not least the Lotus nose, which looks to be adventurous, let's say that, in its interpretation of the rules. So here are the new helmets. You can see the you've got to have, as a driver, you've got to have your helmet number, your car number, I should say, your driver number on your helmet. So Rosberg's really taken that to the nth extreme and putting VI. It's not really 6, is it? I suppose it is if you're Roman, but VI on the side instead of mirrors, and Lewis has put his 44 on the side. If you can see on just by the side of the car, Pete, the hashtag Keep Fighting Michael. Nice sentiment. Putting a hashtag in front of it makes it spoils that slightly in my view, but there you go. Nice sentiment, of course, for Michael Schumacher, who, let's not forget, is still a Mercedes ambassador. So there we go. There's the new Ross Brawnless driver and management lineup, and Paddy Lowe, technical team boss, and Toto Wolff, commercial and everything else team boss. And I must say, actually, just looking at that, it is a bit of a shame. You look at that lineup and those bosses, and you just think, where's Ross? Well, I do anyway. I don't know whether you do. And that's Andy Cowell, who's in charge on the end of the engines. So he's the one who really has seemed to be ahead of everybody else. I mean, if fire-ups and first tests and everything else are a measure of what you can achieve and who's ahead of everybody else, Mercedes are ahead of everybody else. We can say that at the moment. Oh, here's our 4 technical directors. Bob Bell, Aldo Costa, and is Jeff Willis here? No, he's not. All right, so they're a technical director down. Look at all that technical brains in there. Very impressive. Aldo Costa on the end, Bob Bell, second one in, then Andy Cowell, Paddy Lowe, Lewis. And are we going to get the full GP2 hairstyle Lewis Hamilton before he shaved it all off? I don't know if you remember that. It was a big hairstyle he used to have when he was doing GP2. I remember that. Right, so we're going to have a look around the car. We're going to run the rule over the Red Bull as well to see if they've gone with the flattened nose. We're going to send Pete around the front. I'm sure you'll see, or will have already seen in the programme just before us, the flattened nose, and we're going to talk to you throughout the day. But that's it. First bit of the notebook from Mercedes. We're a bit later in the day now. Just had a very nice lunch, courtesy of Williams. Felipe Massa's just gone in there and introduced himself to the chef, who's asked very sweetly, "How do you like your pasta sauce done?" And Felipe said, "With natural tomatoes, not with tinned tomatoes, apparently." So there you go. That's how Felipe Massa wants his pasta sauce done. But I've taken you out to brought you out here down to here. Sorry, I didn't just have a momentary lapse of concentration. It's time to hear what these cars sound like. I don't know who this is because we're just around the back of the pit lane, but let's just stop and see what they sound like. It's not very loud. I haven't needed my earplugs. It sounds a bit like perhaps an enthusiastic road racing teenager who's put a big tin can exhaust on the back of his Escort XR3i or something like that, or it sounds a bit quieter than a GP2 car, which is a bit disappointing. Let's just give it a listen as it comes around. Okay, so that's Marcus Ericsson's first lap out in the Caterham. Here comes another one, which is good. This is the most cars we've had on track pretty much at any point today. It's been that kind of day. It was all going so well for Lewis Hamilton. So having asked whether it was Mercedes' day earlier on in the notebook, turns out, well, yes, it was, but for 18 laps until his front wing fell off, and then it wasn't. But we're going to talk to Toto Wolff in a bit. Let's see who this is and see if we can get another little soundbite from it. It's the Ferrari, is it? No? It is the Ferrari with a white nose. Oh, sorry, Pete, I'm behind you. Did you hear that sort of whirring sound on braking? Now, that's obviously the engine recovery system. That's the KERS, the Kinetic Energy Recovery System. We're going to call both energy recovery systems by different things, because of course there are two. There's one attached to the engine via the crankshaft, which is pretty much the same one we had last year. That's the kinetic energy recovery system. But there's also an energy recovery system attached to the turbo, which I'd like to call the turbo energy recovery system, or TERS, or perhaps the heat energy recovery system, or HERS. But all the teams are calling the MGU-H or the ERS-H for turbo. Now, I wasn't sure whether that was the front of the Ferrari, because it had a lot of white on the nose, but it does, in fact, it was the Ferrari, because it had some aero paint on the front. So that whirring, it doesn't sound too bad, does it? That whirring is the KERS spinning up under braking, effectively braking the car for Kimi by spinning up the motor generator unit and generating all the electricity, which it then uses on acceleration, as it needs to, of course, because they've only got a set amount of fuel. We're going to go through all those engine regs and new rules and how it works tomorrow or the next day. Let's give it another listen. It's on acceleration. Now, sorry, I tell you what, let's go over here and see if we can get it on acceleration and sort of flat out down the pit straight. And then you can hear what it sounds like. Did you get it, Pete? Did you hear? You could hear more or less? Okay, so you've heard what it sounds like under braking. So you're not getting all that popping. That's a good thing. You're not getting all that popping of the engine as the engine's churning out exhaust gas to feed the exhaust blown diffuser, because, of course, there isn't one. You're not allowed to do that now. And Red Bull saying a little earlier in the day how that's going to be a big drawback for them. Of course, they were the masters. There's, of course, Simon Rennie here from Red Bull themselves, not looking too happy with their progress. That's because they haven't run yet. They are behind as we speak. Right, let's have a listen to Kimi as he goes past. At least we can hear him on acceleration. Yeah, so Red Bull having all their toys taken away from them. So you're not going to hear, you're going to hear a sort of cleaner sound, if there is such a thing. Come here, Pete. There is such a thing on deceleration, and there's going to be no popping under. Some people in the grandstand that seem to know what we're doing. Hello to them. I don't think they know what they're doing. They just like to wave at a camera. So yeah, that's Red Bull. Still haven't run at this point. It seems like there was a mistake in putting some of the. Here we go. How do you think that sounded? It didn't sound too bad, did it, on acceleration? You've got to sort of, burble out there. Look at this, we've got some action at Sauber now as well. So there you go, there's a little idea of the sound as well. So as I say, we'll be talking in either tomorrow's notebook or the day after about how all the engine and the energy recovery systems work in terms of how they work with each other, but then how they work on a lap, for example. So when the energy recovery system run by the turbo, the HERS or the TERS, is going to be powering the car, and when the KERS, the old style KERS that we're used to, is going to be powering the car. Of course, they'll have to use those systems to make up for the lack of fuel that they've got. Let's see if Kimi is doing one more thing while I tell you. We're going to talk about Mercedes in a second with Toto Wolff, but I might as well tell you about McLaren's day. They had an installation problem. They're not sure if they're going to run at all today, but they had a hydraulic and electrical installation problem where they trying to fix it. Took about 4 hours to take apart, fix the problem, and then 4 hours to put it back together again. So there's your 8 hours of testing. Insanely complex, these cars turning out, and that's why it's taking so long to get them fixed. Similar problem for Williams, why Williams haven't run. That's the Williams team just over there. You can just see some heads poking out behind the ubiquitous barriers that we have here, frustratingly, in testing. But Williams had a sensor problem deep inside the engine. They worded it brilliantly, a sensor critical to the engine function. Right, okay. Here we go, it's coming into the pits. I don't know what you think. I'm fast getting used to it, and hopefully you'll get used to the noise too. Whether Bernie Eccleston will get used to it, we'll have to see. But nice run from Kimi, 2 full laps with a load of aero paint on. So that's some improvement of sorts from Ferrari. But just to finish off on Williams, yeah, they had to replace a sensor critical to the engine function. They have to take off the engine to do that, but they are hopeful they will put the car back together and get out. So as we speak, it is just approaching 3:30 in the afternoon, and still Williams haven't run. We've had a lap or 2 from Sauber. We've had a lap or 3 from Toro Rosso. Marussia, they've sorted their car out. They'll turn up here tomorrow. Nothing from Red Bull so far, and nothing from McLaren. After I just hope I've told you all about the McLaren. Yeah, hydraulic and electrical installation problems. They've been trying to fix it. It takes a load of time to fix, and it's effectively a sort of 4-hour plumbing job either way. So it seems to be an installation problem between the car, the engine, and the gearbox. And to do it, they need very small hands to get in there and actually fix everything. So it's turned out to be a very frustrating day. Jenson Button's already cancelled his interview session, so we're not going to hear from him at the end of the day. Right, as I leave you just with a shot of an empty track and an empty pit lane, which pretty much sums up the day so far. Hopefully we'll get a bit more running, but let's head down to Mercedes now and catch up with their senior management. And as if by magic, I'm not going to talk to Paddy Lowe, who's one of the team management just coming out of the Mercedes motorhome, but this man on the left, Toto Wolff, who is very impressively multilingual. I didn't actually realise that you could speak fluent French. So when did you learn that? Congratulations. Why am I congratulating you on being able to speak French? Never mind. Tell us what happened about the front wing failure.
Well, we had a good morning actually to start with. We exited the pits at 8 o'clock in the morning, and this is really 9 o'clock, of course.
8 o'clock UK time.
Yeah.
I know. I have the same problem. I have the same problem because we have to do everything with this. It's a disaster.
But you see, I'm a real English guy now. I'm in British time. So we exited at 9 o'clock in the morning, which was a fabulous job of the boys in such a tricky new environment and with new regulations. And then we did a couple of laps, systems checks, which was good. And at the end of the 18th lap, we had a problem on the front wing, which needs to be analyzed. It's not a big issue, but for today, running is over.
Is that a 2014 problem, or is that a problem that can happen any year?
That's a problem that can happen any year, and at the end of the day, this is why we are here. This is what testing is all about, and you need to find out about the little things and little mistakes at the testing rather than at the races where we are losing points because of that.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have a spare nose cone and front wing for Nico tomorrow?
Yes, we do have.
But you couldn't have put it on straight away with Lewis because you need to find out what caused it, presumably.
Yes, you need to analyze it, and it's not only one cause. It's it's a system check, and you want to be out there and do some proper running and not rush into putting stuff on the car which hasn't been properly evaluated, and this is why we are continuing our testing tomorrow.
Okay. Last question from me, because I know, as you can see, you've got plenty of other people to talk to. Do you feel that having done 18 laps and even ended the day at lunchtime, you're probably going to end up doing more laps than anybody else today? Do you feel like you're ahead of the game at the moment, as far as everyone else is concerned?
The problem is ahead of the game in terms of getting the car out, yes, but we haven't seen any performance yet. So, and it's all about lap time. So too early to say whether we are ahead or behind.
Okay. Toto, merci beaucoup. Dankeschön. Thank you very much. Off you go. You might have seen, just a quick one while I remember it, you might have seen a green light above the top roll hoop camera on the Mercedes just a little earlier when it was launched. That's the new KERS safety light. Before, there was a KERS safety light on the front bulkhead to tell marshals and anybody who had to work, and indeed the mechanics who had to work on the car, that the KERS was safe and all the electricity was contained within the battery and insulated, and they weren't going to get a massive shock off it. It was deemed that actually there's so much voltage now going around the car, they need a new KERS safety light. So that's the green light that you're going to see. Very visible it is too on the camera on the base of the roll hoop. So interesting stuff there we heard from Toto Wolff. We're going to break again and round up everyone else once the day is finished. And now the day is finished, we can very quickly wrap up the teams. I've taken my watch off, I've got my stopwatch on, I've only got 2.5 minutes to do this. Caterham, go and have a look at them, Pete. It was a shakedown. They didn't expect to do much more than the one lap. Marcus Ericsson went out, got a feel for the car, wouldn't have been too much for a feel, came back in, and they found another problem. So they have to stop. They want to do a few more laps tomorrow with Marcus Ericsson. They haven't got very many spares at Caterham, so got to watch exactly how much running they do. Disappointment of the day has to be McLaren Mercedes. Didn't get out at all for any laps at all. So that is a huge setback for them. Spent the day trying to find a problem in the installation between the gearbox and the engine, the chassis. Couldn't find it, couldn't get it done in time. It was a bit messy. They're going to dismantle everything in the car overnight and try and get out tomorrow again with Jenson Button. So big disappointment for them. Ferrari, you've got to say, actually ended the day in the best shape. Kimi Räikkönen with 31 laps, the fastest time. I didn't even bother looking at what the fastest time was because it doesn't matter at this point. So Kimi Räikkönen actually the star of the day, really doing the most laps and saying, hopefully you heard his interview in the program just before this, saying that he's vaguely happy with the car, even though it doesn't feel particularly nice to drive. I seem to think, reading between the lines with that. Now Mercedes, what caused their front wing failure? We think we've got a bit of a clue from some footage that we had a look at. Pete, come and have a look at this. If you have a look at how their front wing is supported, it's going to be interesting. I seem to try and juggle with a microphone and a stopwatch. Can you see this, Pete? The pillar just around there is what we're looking at, is only attached to the front wing there by this tiny little area there. And so that's where it seemed to be from the pictures that we've seen from Spanish TV. It actually failed. It just came off at that point, that tiny bit where it is attached. So I don't know whether a redesign will be necessary for them. Hopefully it won't, because that's a big job to do if they need to redesign that part. Sorry about that, my little mobile demonstration device. So we'll see, we'll follow that up tomorrow. They do have a spare, those you heard from Toto Wolff, but that's a bit of a concern for Mercedes. Red Bull, 3 laps only for them. In hindsight, Adrian Newey said maybe they should have started the development of this car sooner, but they were in the middle of a championship fight, so they are behind, playing catch up. Red Bull playing catch up at the moment. Marussia not here yet. Toro Rosso, decent run for them. They did 5th fastest time in 15 laps. Force India, Perez was in the car today, says he's just getting used to the braking again. Sauber, decent day for them. Lap 7 laps for Gutierrez, checking systems, have a bit of teething problems, but they'll be out tomorrow. And finally Williams, excellent to run, getting at least 1 lap in for Valtteri Bottas. Good start, and we'll manage to get some more laps for them under their belt, Williams, tomorrow. Right, that's it. Sorry, we're a little over. That's all we could squeeze the time in. Look, I didn't even get you a chance to explain the bulkhead rules and exactly how and why we're seeing these silly noses. So we'll do that tomorrow. Join us tomorrow for the testing notebook day 2. But for now, goodbye.